Well, we called them. And Spectrum, you know, their little automated thing said. Oh, Dave.
Marcia, I have 7 o'clock, so I'll leave it up to you to let me know when you feel we're ready.
We're getting there.
No problem at all.
Trying to live. Are we live now?
Yeah.
Okay, we are live streaming and ready to go.
All right. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Board of Trustees meeting for December 17th. And at this time, if we can start with a roll call, please. Marcia.
Ms. Beck,
I'm here, Kent, Ohio.
Ms. Biergard,
Here.
Mr. Brockett, Mr. Brockett,
Unmute.
I think on camera with lips moving is probably close.
okay. Mr. Childers,
Jeff Childers, Southern Portage County.
Ms. Davison,
Debbie Davison, City of Ravenna.
Mr. Ginn,
Dave Ginn, Middle Portage County.
Good to hear you, Dave.
Mr. Lewis,
Mike Lewis, Ravenna Township.
Mr. Mansfield,
R2 Mansfield, Franklin Township.
Mr. Murphy, Ms. Tipton,
Morgan Tipton, City of Kent.
Ms. Wise,
Karen Wise, City of Ravenna.
Mr. Woods,
Marvin Woods, City of Streetsboro.
Marcia Fletcher, PARTA, Ms. Amrine,
Claudia Amrine, PARTA.
Ms. Beck, go ahead.
Apple, PARTA.
Ellie Jurish, PARTA.
Clayton Popick, PARTA.
Ms. Schrader,
Rebecca Schrader, PARTA.
Mr. Markey,
Justin Markey from Rental and Andrews.
All right. Thank you very much, Marcia. Thanks, everybody, for being here tonight. I know everybody's busy, especially this time of the year, so we'll go through the meeting as quickly as possible. We're going to look at the minutes and have everybody review those. And as soon as somebody's comfortable, if I could have a motion.
Move to approve the minutes.
Thank you. I
I'll
believe that was
second.
RT with a second from Karen. Thank you. We have a first and second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is guest communications. We are not required due to COVID-19 to have that. So we'll move right on to number 4. Claudia, if you'd like to talk about the general manager's report, or if anybody has questions on general manager's report.
Sure, thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining tonight. I really don't have any thing to report other than what's in my board report. Only one new item is that we learned today we did receive a Connecting Communities grant through AMATS to study the portion of Route 59 between Horning Road and 261. And some of you who were on the board a year ago will remember that we applied for this grant and then it got delayed due to COVID. So AMATS picked that process back up. And so we'll be studying transit and pedestrian improvements and safety improvements along that stretch where so many people live and rush across the street to get to the store with no walkways and no signage. So we're hoping to be able to study that and come up with a plan.
How long do you think that'll take?
We'll do the study in 2021, and that will then position us to be able to work with the Franklin Township to apply for funds for those improvements.
Good.
So it'll take years, but that's how it works.
Well, has to be done.
Yeah. So other than that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
You know what, Claudia, your your report is always so well done that it's kind of hard to come up with questions, but thank you.
Try to keep it to the high points and be clear. So thank you.
All right, if there's no other questions, Claudia, thank you very much. I agree with Karen. You always put a lot of time into this and convey really well what's going on within PARTA, so we do appreciate that. At this point, we'll move on to the committee reports. Administration Committee did not meet. Finance Committee did meet, and I think Mike's covering that tonight, so I guess I'll go ahead with that. We met via Zoom, and as everybody remembers, last month we did the budget. So this month we're covering November. However, October and November, there wasn't a real big change or many changes between those. Probably some of the highlights as we look at the financial report or Report A. The KSU revenues actually exceeded budget this month, which was nice. However, year to date, it's still a little bit over $500,000 short of budget. And everybody, I think, can understand what's going on there. We'll see how the future goes. Again, it's going to depend on how the new year rolls out. We were able to take the last part of the CARES Act, $465,353, which brought the total for the year just a bit over $4 million, $4,097,737. And then, so revenues did well against budget. Expenses, they've done a great job all year. Probably the only thing that's a little bit high is health insurance. And I say a little bit high, it's not much. And that's just because we really can't control that. They've done a great job with expenses on salaries and maintenance and so forth. So year to date, let's go over month to date. Is $721,000 was the current period against the $66,000 budget. Again, we covered what those increases were. Year to date, actual about a little bit over $5,600,000. It's been a strong month. You can see the big numbers. There was also some numbers with the federal capital maintenance up above. Not sure. We talked a little bit about what's going to happen next year and if there's any of that money that's going to be available, and there's just not answers at this point. We're hoping that that happens. We might find out within the next month or so, and we'll go from there. Not a lot of adjustments on the capital finance report. We drew down $363,000 to cover expenses on the bus storage facility from the previous month. And if you took a second to look at the restricted, we had 4 diesel buses that were scheduled for 2020. They were delayed and they will not be to us till May of 2021. We did, however, receive 5 LTV buses, and they just arrived last week. So that was a good thing that was budgeted. We have restricted funds that'll help us replace some buses that are coming up in the upcoming years because those are going to be big expenses. And we've touched on those a little bit in the past. So PARTA, again, is continuing strong. And really, I don't see, I think it's actually been pretty decent considering everything that's going on. On the Kent Gateway, we've had some difficulties there. Year to date, we're 49% below when we look back at parking numbers. The parking deck isn't being used. The hotel has not been open. The Kent State students are not using it as much. It did come up, but it's still behind for the year. That is a direct correlation to what's going on with the numbers. We actually had a profit this month, which was nice. Not much, but it was a profit. But year to date, we're still down 127,000. Rebecca's projected out 139,000 roughly short for the year, even though they've adjusted as much as they can. There's just some expenses that they're not able to recover, or revenue they're able to replace even. Other than that, Rebecca, if you would like to add anything, please do.
I think you did a great job, Mike.
All right. Well, thank you. I think that's your way of saying you don't want to add anything. So we will move on. I don't think anything's needed at this point. We did talk about the 3 resolutions that we'll talk about later on, and all 3 were recommended for advance onto the board for approval.
Mike, what
yes.
caused the, I guess, the uptick or just the positive margin for?
I think it was increase on traffic. You're talking Kent Gateway now? Yeah, there was some increase on traffic that kind of stabilized at least for those months, although we're not sure how that's going to continue. And I also think there was an adjustment, Rebecca, I'm remembering there was an adjustment made to this because PARTA has kind of covered some of the, is that the 40? No? That's why you can go ahead in this one then.
Yes, there was an invoice back in August, I believe it was, that was for the equipment. It was a software upgrade. It was $10,000. And after reviewing, he did like a mini audit, determined that that should have been booked as a fixed asset and not an operating expense. So $10,000 was deducted out of the operating expenses and booked on the statement of net position.
Yeah. And you're breaking out a
why-
little, Rebecca, but you reminded me enough, Karen, on the net position report, which is report C, it's $10,769. It's listed under parking control equipment. That was reversed and shows as income now, where before it wasn't in the wrong category. We just had it in the better category. Is that correct? Basically. So that definitely helped. Yep. Good question. Any other questions on finance? All right, thanks Rebecca again for all the time along with your team. Operations and personnel committees did not meet. Do we have any old business that needs to be brought to the board? Hearing none. New business. At this point, we have a presentation on the ADA, Americans with Disability Act.
Good evening, everyone. This is Denise Bava speaking. And tonight, we just wanted to give you a brief update. It's been about a year since PARTA introduced its new ADA assessment program. And I'll do this in basically 3 parts. First, I'll give you some background on the ADA and then describe how the ADA applies to PARTA. And finally, I'll give some highlights of PARTA's new assessment program and look at what's transpired during the past year. And I'm going to try to go through this quickly because I know some of you have already heard this, but then we also have some new board members since I presented last fall. By way of background, the ADA guarantees people with disabilities the same opportunities as everyone else to participate in mainstream life, and it's modeled after the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. So basically, the ADA is a equal opportunity law for those with disabilities. There are 4 main titles to the ADA, but it's PARTA, the law applies to PARTA based on Title II. And the bottom line of that is that no entity shall discriminate against an individual with disabilities in connection with the provision of transportation services. So here's what the ADA looks like with respect to PARTA and non-discrimination. So all of our buses, our large fixed route buses, are ADA compliant. We have lifts and ramps on our buses. We offer priority seating and a securement area for those in wheelchairs. Our bus stops are free of obstructions, and we all allow all passengers adequate time to board and alight from our buses, as well as we offer stop announcements on our fixed route buses. But even though our fixed route buses are equipped to be accessible, PARTA also offers complimentary paratransit service as required by the ADA. Paratransit service is required because there will always be some individuals with disabilities who can't navigate fixed route buses on their own, even when the buses are ADA compliant. And I'd like to note here that PARTA uses the same buses for its paratransit service and dial-a-ride or demand response service. However, paratransit riders are given priority over individuals using the dial-a-ride service. And I'll highlight that a little bit later in the presentation, the differences between the two. So here are the basic requirements for paratransit service. The law dictates that the level of service provided through paratransit be comparable to a system's fixed route service. Specifically, the hours and days of operation must be the same, and service must be provided to origins and destinations within a 3/4 of a mile radius of the system's fixed route service. So here are some key differences. As I mentioned earlier, PARTA uses the same small buses for its ADA and its dial-a-ride service. The key differences are that dial-a-ride is a county-wide service. Although we have one parameter, you can't get a dial-a-ride service if you were within 3/10 of a mile of a fixed route stop. The ADA service, however, is aligned with our fixed route service area. Service hours are basically the same for both ADA and dial-a-ride. But again, anyone can book a ride using the dial-a-ride service, whereas you have to meet eligibility requirements to use the ADA service. Dial-a-ride service, you can book your trip up to 3 days in advance, but ADA service only requires you to book your trip 24 hours in advance. There's also regarding the fare. For dial-a-ride, the fare is $6 per ride for a one-way trip and $3 reduced fare. And ADA service fare is $2, which by law, ADA fare can only be twice what you charge for your fixed route. So we charge $1 a ride for a fixed route, so it's $2 for ADA. And again, ADA service is prioritized over dial-a-ride service. So who can use the ADA paratransit service? As I noted earlier, the law doesn't specifically name what impairments are covered, but rather gives a broad definition of what a disability is. What's important to note is that having a disability doesn't necessarily qualify an individual to use paratransit service. The determining factor is a person's ability to access and use traditional fixed route service. Basically, if you can get to a fixed route stop, then you use the fixed route service. But if the nature of your disability prevents you from getting to a fixed route stop, then you can use the dial-a-ride, or you can use the ADA paratransit service. So ADA requires transit systems to have a process for identifying who's eligible for paratransit service. Prior to 2020, PARTA essentially used an honor system. We asked riders to fill out an application and have his or her medical professional sign off to indicate that service was necessary, but there was no independent verification. So basically, I could fill out a form, and if I could get my doctor to sign the form saying that I needed paratransit service, I could hand that back into PARTA, and I could use I was eligible then for paratransit service. Okay. That process was okay until 2018, when PARTA experienced a steep spike in ADA applications. From 2014 through 2019, the number of ADA trips performed nearly tripled. In 2019, PARTA averaged more than 1,000 paratransit trips per month. And I'd like to note here that we were beginning to average the same number of paratransit trips per month in 2019 as Akron Metro, which is much larger than PARTA's system size. Here's what we believe precipitated that spike in ADA service. PARTA revamped its dial-a-ride service, requiring riders whose origin and destination was within 0.3 of a mile of the fixed route line to use the fixed route service. In addition, the fare for dial-a-ride also increased. Following those changes, PARTA experienced a spike in ADA applications and rides. Some dial-a-ride passengers became paratransit riders because it was either more convenient than using fixed route service or less costly than using the traditional dial-a-ride service. And that trajectory was unsustainable for PARTA. So PARTA's response was to review and enhance its ADA eligibility process. An independent assessment of a rider's functional ability was now required. The new requirement more accurately reflects the spirit of the ADA law. Paratransit service is designed to accommodate those disabled riders who are functionally unable to use the regular fixed route service. In the fall of 2019, PARTA contracted with Western Reserve Hospital in Cuyahoga Falls to provide functional assessments as part of its ADA process. Western Reserve's life-size replica of a city street allows the hospital's therapist to evaluate the functional ability of individuals in a simulated environment that mimics real-world obstacles. The assessment takes about an hour, and it measures 6 key functional areas. The applicant schedules the appointment at their convenience, and PARTA pays for the $60 evaluation, and it will provide transportation to and from the appointment if requested. So here's where PARTA stood before initiating its updated eligibility process. There were 411 individuals as registered users of our paratransit service on December 31st of 2019. And again, I'll remind you that PARTA averaged more than 1,000 paratransit trips per month in 2019. The new evaluation process was initiated in January of 2021. It was rolled out slowly. 2020. I'm jumping ahead. It was rolled out slowly, and then the pandemic emerged and PARTA experienced little or no activity between the end of March through mid-June. So basically, we had 3 lost months of doing evaluations. But evaluations began to pick up again mid to late summer. In August, September, and October, PARTA averaged 14 evaluations per month. So here's where we are now. At this point in time, PARTA has 296 individuals remaining on our ADA list. So far, 112 individuals have completed functional assessments, and there are 184 more individuals that have evaluations pending. Approximately 115 individuals did not respond to letters from PARTA indicating a functional assessment was required to retain their paratransit service eligibility. Those individuals have been removed from the roster. And of the 112 individuals who have participated in a functional assessment process, no one has been denied paratransit service based on their evaluation. However, a small percentage of individuals were flagged, and they will be required to be reassessed again within a year's time because the initial evaluation determined there may be some improvement in their circumstances in the future, and they may no longer be eligible for paratransit services. So the bottom line is, if you're looking at those individuals, those 115 individuals, they basically self-selected out of the evaluation process for the paratransit service. So that's where we're at this point in time. And going forward, the 180 some people that have evaluations pending, as you saw earlier in the slides, those evaluations are done on a rolling basis. So as their eligibility for paratransit service comes up, we will continue to evaluate those people going forward and make it through the rest of those 180 some individuals. Does anyone have any questions at this time that I can answer for you?
No. I do, Denise, and I'm probably just confused. So the folks that the 187,
yes.
Are we providing services currently, or cannot until we figure out how to?
No, they're still receiving services. They're still receiving services until they get a letter from us telling them that they need to have that evaluation.
Is the testing available during COVID? Is there a workaround, or is it paused?
No, this testing is still available.
Okay.
It's done through Western Reserve Hospital in
Right.
Cuyahoga Falls.
And even now in COVID, folks can get there and get tested and go through the assessment.
Yes, we've been doing around 14 a month.
Did you hear that?
No.
No, the assessments are continuing. We've been doing around 14 assessments a month.
Okay.
So
great.
what happens is a letter goes out and then it indicates that the individual needs to schedule the appointment at themselves at Western Reserve. And if they need a ride to Western Reserve, PARTA will provide them with that ride. To ensure they're able to get to the hospital and back home again. And PARTA pays the fees for the assessment. The only thing that the person applying for eligibility needs to do is make that appointment, make an appointment that fits into their schedule.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Denise? Denise, I remember the presentation. I know it was a big effort to get to that point when you gave that last year, and it's been a big effort to try to get everybody through the process. So thank you for your continued work on this. Do we have anything else to add under new business? Hearing none. Last thing I have on the agenda is the 3 resolutions. So I'll start with 2020-1201, which is a resolution by the Portage Area Regional Transportation Authority, Board of Trustees authorizing the general manager or her designee to participate in and contribute to risk pooling with Ohio Transit Risk Pool. And I think Claudia will, there you go, okay.
Yeah, this is our annual resolution to authorize participation in the risk pool. This is OTRIP that we talk about often, and we pool our risk with other transit authorities and cover all of our liability, accidents, collisions, whatnot, through the pool. And because it is in excess of 100,000, we do need a board resolution to authorize that expenditure.
Thank you, Claudia. At this point, can I have a motion for the resolution?
Motion.
First, I believe it was Margaret, and a
Yes.
second from RT. Is there any further discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all in favor? Signify by aye. Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Any abstentions? Thank you very much. Hearing none, the resolution is
Oh.
approved. I'm sorry. Was there a question?
Roll
Okay.
call.
I'm sorry. I'm not used to that part of it. Please, Marcia, roll call.
Okay. Mr. Childers? Mr. Childers?
He's muted.
Yes.
Mr. Brockett? Ms. Biergard?
Yes.
Ms. Beck?
Yes.
Mr. Mansfield?
Yes.
Mr. Woods?
Yes.
Ms. Wise?
Yes.
Ms. Tipton?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Davison?
Yes.
Mr. Ginn?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Marcia. Thanks for keeping me in line too. All right. So resolution does pass. So we have also resolution 2020-1202. It's a resolution by the Portage Area Regional Transportation Authority Board of Trustees approving expenditures for licensing and maintenance with Trapeze Software Group.
Motion.
Claudia, do you want to go through that? Or do you want me to take? Claudia, do you have anything you want to add to the resolution?
Again, it's a large purchase. Trapeze software is the backbone of our all the systems that run our services. Every electronic device is somehow tied to Trapeze for all of our transit services. And so this annual resolution authorizes us to pay the fees to keep all of that running.
Thank you. And then Karen, I will take your motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Debbie. And now I believe roll call. Is that correct? Did I get that one right?
Yay.
Yeah.
Hey.
Ms. Beck?
Yes.
Mr. Mansfield?
Yes.
Mr. Woods?
Yes.
Ms. Wise?
Yes.
Ms. Tipton?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Davison?
Yes.
Mr. Childers?
Yes.
Mr. Brockett? Ms. Biergard?
Yes.
Mr. Ginn?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Resolution 2020-1202 is approved. Last one that I have is 2020-1203. A resolution by the Portage Area Regional Transportation Authority Board of Trustees authorizing the award of a contract to Gladeau, and I know I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, Trading and Marketing Company to provide diesel and gasoline fuel for 2021, and authorizing the general manager or her designee to sign a federal excise tax exemption certificate on behalf of PARTA. It's a joint purchasing venture with Akron Metro RTA, Western Reserve RTA, and Stark Area RTA. Claudia?
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, this is another large purchase contract, but it is slightly different from the first two in that fuel, because we are doing a joint procurement and it is a low bid process. We open those bids on a specific day and time and have to award the contract by 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock, sometime that afternoon. So the board pre-authorizes the execution of that. We did that in June. The board pre-authorized us being able to execute that contract, and then we come back following the award and ratify the award of that contract. And the great news is we're going to save some money next year. So.
Very good. Thank you, Claudia. Can I have a motion for resolution 2020-1203?
So moved.
Motion.
I've got a first Marcia, I'll let you say. I saw Morgan as a first. I'll take a second.
Second. Second.
And thank you very much, Marvin, for the second. Marcia, can we have roll call?
Ms. Biergard,
Yes.
Ms. Beck,
Yes.
Mr. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mr. Woods,
Yes.
Ms. Wise,
Yes.
Ms. Tipton,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Ms. Davison,
Yes.
Mr. Childers,
Yes.
Mr. Brockett, Mr. Ginn.
Yes.
Thank you, Marcia. Resolution 2020-1203 is approved. Those were all that I had for resolutions. Is there any need? I know of no need for an executive session. Hearing none. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that.
That was Margaret. Thank you.
It
And
was.
can I have a second, please? Thank you, Debbie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We stand
Aye.
adjourned. Claudia, I do notice that you're at the podium. Please.
Just want to thank everyone for your service this year. It's been quite a year, and with the new board members, I'm so pleased with how you've all jumped in and become active, and I look forward to being able to meet in person again sometime, but I do appreciate all your support, the staff. We really feel it. It's been a tough year, but we feel really good about our board and how we're positioned now. So thank you so much for your service.
Claudia, and if I'll throw in, I actually appreciate the questions that come from the board. Everybody is engaged. That's great. And I also want to say, I think I can speak on behalf of the board, the job that your team has done, you and your team has done over the past 9 months with everything they've had to go through is very much appreciated. You've done an excellent job. The team should be commended for just doing just above and beyond during these very difficult times. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'll second that.
Yeah. So I tell you what, thank you very much, everybody. Have a safe holiday. 2021's around the corner and it will start getting better. That's one thing we can all count on. So thanks very much. Have a great night. And we'll see everybody at the next meeting, which is January 28th, 2021, which sounds weird to say, but that's when it is. So thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Thank
Bye.
you.